think we're live.
Hi everybody.
Hello.
Good morning.
Welcome to our first digital Meet the Manager meetings. I'm very new at digital Meet the Manager meetings, so grace is appreciated. Amy's kind of running control over here for us, looking at viewers. I'm struggling because we've got one viewer in now, but I also know this is going to be available later on when they're after the post is made. So I want to wait for a few viewers to pop in before we actually get started. That way the people that are joining us live won't miss anything. And Amy is monitoring the comment section. So as always, just like a real Meet the Manager meeting, if you've got a question, pop it up there. We will try to get to them all.
Where's everybody joining us from this morning? If you're on here, say hello.
We jumped up to 6. Hey, Linda.
Hi, Linda from Oklahoma.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I wanted to first say that these digital meetings I'm gonna try to structure them a lot like our Meet the Manager meetings in person. So the way we typically did those, a quick update and then kind of open the floor to any questions. We have had some people send some questions in beforehand, which is always welcome. You can send those to amy@tlresort.com or jump into the comments and put them in there. We're going to be rotating our Meet the Manager meetings from in this office, more focused on answering questions and interacting directly with you. And then the next week, we'll be actually driving around the park, looking at what's going on the park. So still be answering some questions, but it won't be as tailored to just Q&A like this meeting here today is. So excited about that. All right.
Hi, Cindy.
So first off, it is a balmy 39 here at Treasure Lake. So it is quite a bit warmer than it was when we got all the snow. Big shout out to the maintenance team for keeping our roads clear and safe. And on that note, I'd like to welcome Mike Gendelsberger as our new maintenance manager. There's some information on Facebook about him and his experience, so feel free to look at that. His parents were longtime Treasure Lake owners, and he grew up here, so we're excited to have him as part of the team. He got to work really quick. He hit the ground running. And one of the biggest projects that I wanted to let everybody know of, something I've received a lot of feedback on when I first started, was we've got an issue with our water system. And the issue is we believe there are some major leaks. And identifying those leaks have always been problematic. So Mike jumped in, and Mike and Gary Ball met with the city and discussed our usage and our bill and kind of talked about, is this normal? If there is a leak, obviously that's not going through the sewer system, so is there a way that we can be compensated for that or work toward a solution that lowers our bill? So we're working with them to kind of develop a baseline. Where are we at right now on usage? And then we've also contacted Missouri Rural Water Association, and they're going to come in and help us identify and plot where our lines are, because that's information that we don't currently have, and then help us identify where those leaks could be in our system. So Mike's working closely with both of those organizations, and of course with me to identify those leaks and get those fixed. And once that happens, my hope is we can look at what our base usage was and then say, is there any way that the city can reimburse us for the amount of money that, that didn't go into the sewer system. We obviously used the water. The water, came out of the city, and it's possible for us to be billed for that. But as far as the sewage piece, since it didn't enter the sewage system, is there a way to be compensated for that? So more to come on that. You're going to see some new meters installed, and you'll see the Missouri Rural Water Association helping us identify those leaks and get those fixed. So that's really exciting. I know that multiple people, when I first started, said this needs to be a top priority because we are wasting a lot of money with broken infrastructure, and I couldn't agree more. And we're on the path of fixing that. So that's exciting. Another thing that we're doing is implementing a new maintenance management program. So obviously we're a large park, and there's a whole lot of assets that we have here at the park, and we're at the point now where I think we need to grow in how we manage those assets and make sure that, one, we're doing preventative service and maintenance to cost us larger, that if not done would cost us larger amounts down the road, and then also track what we've done so we can report that out to owners. We're working with a software company. It's something that's going to allow a maintenance staff to actually go in and do an inspection in a unit, and when they mark that something doesn't pass inspection, or with a vehicle or with any asset that we have, it automatically creates work orders that then Mike can assign to his staff, and once they get those done, they check them off, and we can really start to look at how much money are we spending ensuring each asset type or each asset is up to running code. So really excited about that. I think it's going to be good to see kind of where our money is going on each unit or each type of asset, and it'll also help us plan for the future. So I think one phase of this is let's figure out where we're at, which is let's go through and inspect everything, every unit, every site, every building, and figure out what needs to be done so that we can plan in the future to get those items where they need to be, and then how do we ensure that we maintain them so it doesn't cost us more than it should down the line. So really excited about that. We've already rolled that program out in part, and it'll go into kind of full swing within the next couple of months. One thing that is really exciting about that app is as an owner, you will be able to actually scan a QR code or click a link that will allow you to submit a maintenance request. So if you're in a unit, you're our owners, if you see something that you think needs to be fixed, that maybe we've missed or we haven't inspected that unit since it happened, you'll actually be able to submit that request. Mike sees those directly, and we'll be able to turn those into a work order and put them on our plan. So again, I think that all of us working together to ensure that if there is an issue, it's identified and we get a plan to fix it is really, really important. So looking forward to that. On that same note, that QR code is also going to take us to a new digital feedback form at the start of the new season. So if you've ever stayed in one of our rooms, you'll know in the cabins there's a sheet that's a feedback form, and it's not just about the room itself, it's about the park in general. But what happens currently is somebody fills those out, those get delivered directly to me, and then we have to take them from analog to digital to be able to really look at that data and what area is a major concern. And that takes time and money to convert those to a digital asset that we can use in decision making. So this new digital form, there will still be paper if you like to feel paper. But we're hoping to really cut down on the amount of paper so that we get instant kind of feedback on what's going on, both things that need to be fixed and then areas of improvement, or hey, those attaboys, good job to this person or this team. They made our experience really awesome here. So we're excited to be able to use that data in a more timely fashion, because right now there is a lag time between when we see those and then when we get them digital and are able to do something about it. So excited about that. Also, that digital feedback is something that's part of Office 365 that we already have access to, so it's not costing us any additional money. We're just utilizing the tools that we already have. So really, really excited about that.
Lonnie says the sound is not good.
The sound is not good.
Is anybody else having trouble with the sound?
Let me move just a little bit closer. I also have a bad habit of not using my outside voice sometimes. So. Is this a little bit better? All right, well, I'm going to keep going. Let me know.
Here's a nice comment right here. Deborah says, love that you're getting things up to code. Hopefully the laundry room near propane tanks will have the handicap issue fixed so it's up to code too, and our handicap guests aren't blocked from the main door. You're doing a great job serving our guests. Thankful having you on board.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thanks,
that.
Deborah.
Also want to welcome Jeff Clays as our new housekeeping manager. He was working on the housekeeping team before he took the position. He served as interim, and we decided to offer him that position going forward. He's been doing a great job along with the rest of his team. They've really been focused on deep cleaning the units, and if you haven't had a chance to meet Jeff, next time you're on the park, stop him, have a chat with him. You'll find that his standard for cleanliness is extremely high, and he's really developing his team and also ensuring that we've got some things that we were kind of lacking in the past, like inventory control for housekeeping, schedules that make sense, making sure that we have the proper bedding for our units. Really some low-hanging fruit that we haven't been able to obtain yet. Those things are getting done. So super excited about that. I've actually received feedback from guests that have stayed here and owners that have stayed here since he took over, and I can tell you that I've had 3 people tell me that it is the cleanest room that they've ever stayed in. So huge shout out to him and his entire team. They're doing a fantastic job. All right. Newsletter is coming out soon. It's going to be a long one. There's a lot of great information in there though, so be looking for that. As always, if you're not receiving newsletters, please reach out to Amy or myself. It could be an issue on your device, or it could be that we've got the wrong information for you.
Yeah.
So we'll get that updated and make sure that that information gets to you moving forward. They're also available online on our website. After they've been sent out via email, we post those online, and then also on Facebook as well. So be on the lookout for that within the next couple of weeks. We actually have the draft going to be ready tomorrow.
Yep.
Look over it, make sure we spelled everything right before we send it out. So we're super excited about that. Work campers. We have started the hiring process for work campers. That doesn't mean that we're hiring yet for the season, but right now we're accepting applications for our work camping positions for next season. So if you or you know somebody that might be interested in work camping for us, please send them our way. They can email hr@tlresort.com, and then we'll be sending them a packet that says here are the positions that are available, here's what the process looks like, and if they're interested, they'll be able to fill out a packet and send that back, and then we'll start those interviews soon. Just kind of getting everything in line and prepared for the start of the season to make sure that we are staffed up.
Do you want to take any questions as they come in, or you want to save them until the end?
I can take a question, yeah.
Okay, quick question for you. When are the due statements going to be mailed? This is from James and Linda.
That was next on my list. So you can't see it on here, but I've got a big whiteboard, and we've got projects on there. And one of them is our due statements. And we're going to be mailing those out January 30th. That's our target right now. Right now we're looking at the format of the invoice. So obviously with the change in in-house accounting, Abacus will not be the ones developing that invoice. We will be developing that invoice. So I just looked at the second draft yesterday. It's looking great. I will tell you, you won't have to pull out scissors anymore to cut that remit portion off. we're going to be having a perforated line that you can actually just tear that off. It's the small things, right? So those will be coming soon. So very excited about that. There'll also be some information in there about our capital improvement fund, and just some news about Treasure Lake and the awesome things that are happening. So that was the question, right?
That was the question.
All right, I over answered it, but January 30th. So look for those soon. In the past, I've been told that if you got if they paid early, they never received an invoice. Going forward, that'll not be the case. Either way, you'll receive something from us. One saying this is your due statement and this is what you owe, or one that says this is what you did owe and it'll be marked paid. So if you don't receive something from us within the next month or so, reach out, because you should have, which means your address is, we have the wrong address for you in our system, or there's another issue somewhere. So we'll make sure that gets fixed if that's the case. There will also be a portion to update your information. In the past, it was just email. We'll ask for some other information as well, just to make sure that our records are kept up to date.
So this kind of piggybacks with Lonnie's question. He asked about the pond first, but he also asked about when are the membership coupons coming out?
Yeah, so they will be included in that. So your due statements will have that coupon. And I will remind you, you don't have to have the coupon to utilize it. So if you've got somebody, you have somebody chomping at the bit, they want a membership, send them on down. Just make sure that they have your name and member number, so that they can give that to our sales team, and we're tracking that. I believe so far we've given 8 tours for that 1,000 coupon, and so that'll be included in there. And then again, updated information, if you could make sure that that's updated, would be great. So current cost of a membership, please. So with 1,000 for 1,000, it's $1,000.
Yeah.
And that includes that year's dues, and all that information will be in there as well. So
absolutely.
Awesome.
A couple other questions. Has the pond work been completed?
So I would say it's 90% there. There were some areas of cattails that we could not get to because of the middle of the pond was still extremely wet and kind of soupy. And even though that we had pumped it and tried to stay on top of that, we had rain, and there just wasn't time for that to dry out completely. So there is a couple little tufts of those reeds left. We're waiting for the ground to freeze really good. So the plan is to continue to kind of pump that out, and then wait for a nice hard solid freeze, and then we will actually get in there with our equipment and pull out just the little bits that are remaining. And then we look at fish stocking plans, and so there'll be definitely more to come on that. If you haven't seen it, tune in next week. I will drive by the pond so that everybody can kind of see the progress. It looks 10 times bigger than it looked before. And you have to remember, I never saw it before those cattails were removed. So I'm like, wow, it's a huge pond. So really, really excited about that. We'll get that water level up, work on a fish stocking plan, figure out, there's going to be some other infrastructure changes around that pond as well. So yeah, it's going to be great.
Another question, will we be able to have rock and roll open this spring?
We don't have an exact date yet, but as soon as we do, we will let you know for sure. So
back to the pond, did
Okay.
they
relay, a liner, reclay. Gotcha.
There we go.
Yeah. So Austin, they tried to ensure that they didn't break that clay barrier, and if they did, they moved clay back in that area. So we didn't pay for additional clay to be brought in, but obviously when we hit that rock, which our initial plan was to go a lot deeper, but it's the Ozarks, and we knew that it was a good possibility that we'll get in there and we'll hit rock immediately, and that's exactly what happened, especially around the entire side of the pond. So I have been told that the depth of the pond is enough to stop cattails, but my fear is that there's some areas that won't. So we will look at treating the pond quarterly with an additive that kills those cattails and ensures they don't start. to pop up. So we're going to keep a very close eye on that. I see this as an investment in the pond as far as the work we've put into it.
Absolutely.
And we want to, again, preventative service and maintenance to ensure that we're not looking at a much larger bill in another 5 years when we have to remove cattails. So we're going to do everything we can to ensure those cattails don't come back. So.
Very, very good.
Is it allowed to have kayaks or paddle boats in either pond? I don't know. We have a specific rule against that. I think it would be great to have a little fishing kayak out there. Honestly, throw in. Obviously, the pond that just got fixed, it's going to be a couple of years before we're going to be able to fish it. I guess depending on the fish stocking plan. All right, I'm going to jump into the rest of my updates real quick as some more questions come in. So we did receive the draft November financials, and one of the things that we've talked about at several Meet the Managers meetings is kind of the process of the financials, and I have frustrations with the amount of time that it takes us to actually send those financials out, as I know a lot of other owners do as well. So we're looking at November, and if you check your calendar, we're in January of 2025. So that means that these financials can't really be used to make decisions because it's old data. And we can look at what happened, but by the time you're trying to look at a trend line and you're 3 months in, that trend line's it's continued the same direction without anybody stepping in to change anything. So be aware that, again, our process is changing. We're bringing that internally. We hope to have financials out by the 15th of every month. That's our goal for the prior month, not 2 months in the past. So really excited about that. But when these financials come in from Abacus, because Abacus still has to finish out November and December so that we can start our financial accounting system in January. I get a draft. Me and Sarah pour through this draft line by line, and you'll see that I make lots of notes and why is this and that looks wrong, and and then we have a call with Abacus. We send lots of emails back and forth. Then our finance committee meets. Typically, the finance committee has additional questions that we get answers to. We're in this kind of, we have to balance trying to make the financials perfect, which is never the case, and getting them out timely. And I've always felt like we're really kind of up against a brick, a brick wall, and we really have to try to get those out as quickly as possible. But I want to put out accurate information. So a lot of times we'll get some of these adjustments made and then submit them, and then the following month there'll be further adjustments on the previous month's financials, which results in obviously negative account lines, because if you're moving something from one general ledger account line to another from a prior month, it's going to show up as a negative if there wasn't enough expense in there to offset that change. So again, the other thing I'm also kind of weighing is, we know that our financials, if you've been to our Meet the Managers meetings before, they're overly complicated. Things don't go in the same line month to month. As I've said before in Meet the Manager meetings, they're a mess. They really are. So the other thing that I'm weighing is, do I spend tons of time trying to make sure that information that we know is, the bottom line is correct, right? And we can look at the amount of money we brought in, and we can look at the expenses that we have. All of that is accurate. But when you get into where those expenses are or where that income was, that's where it's not good data. So do I spend a lot of time on trying to get that perfect, or do I focus on how is our process going to work in the future and ensure that going forward our financials are where they need to be on the accuracy level? So those are the things that I kind of weigh. We did have some questions about the financials that came in. They're all great questions.
Yeah.
For instance, we had a propane cost of sale refill station that was in the negative. We've reached out to Abacus. We're still working back and forth. So this isn't a quick answer. When I get a question like this, I'll email Abacus and say, hey, this is a question that we have. Why is it this way? They'll respond back with something. Typically, I'll look at the answer and go, knowing the operations of that doesn't sound right. And then we engage in this kind of back and forth until we finally figure out kind of where it went wrong and does it need to be changed. And then when that change happens, again, like I said, sometimes it'll show up as a negative on the P&L where you're used to seeing positives, and that's because a journal entry was done to move a bulk of expenses. A good example would be, let's say, for instance, I noticed that the maintenance line is way over budget, and I start looking at that and I ask, can you send me a detailed list of what all went into this general ledger, this account line for this month? And we'll find that there's a bunch of stuff that doesn't belong there, that belonged in another account code. We'll get into the next month and I'll say, we'll verify that. That takes weeks of back and forth and conversations. And then when they change it, they'll take all of that expense in one journal entry. It'll be the total of all the transactions that didn't belong there. And they'll move those from that line to another line, which can show up. It can make the financials look very weird. Again, in the future, I think if you see something like that happen, that's a big red flag. But currently, we're really just trying to clean up data. And it's not just every system, we're always progressing, we're always moving forward. So I don't want anybody to take this as a criticism of anything we've done in the past, but we've got a lot of room for improvement on a lot of the systems that we operate in. Campground, for instance, we're finding out through this annual dues statement that the way that we track those, there's a much better way to track that. Currently we put it in the notes section of an account, and we don't actually do a billing on the account. And then a staff member has to sit down and reconcile with Abacus every single month to ensure that our dues are accurate. When in reality we could be charging that to the account in Campground and quickly have that data and it not take hours and hours of Stacy's time or another staff's time to try to ensure that information is accurate. So just a whole lot of areas that we can improve and just make better. So the problem is we've got 30 areas that could be improved and make better, and limited time. So we're really trying to identify which ones need the most attention, put that attention toward those areas, and we're seeing growth in those areas and change, but that change does take some time. So I'm really happy with the direction that we're going with these systems. The new systems that we're implementing, like the maintenance software, we've done it right from the ground up. So that's going to take off and be absolutely amazing. Do we have a new R&R manager yet? No, we do not. But that is a position that we're hiring for. If you know somebody that is interested in that, please send them our direction. They can email me or they can email hr@tlresort.com. Those are all the major updates I had, I think. I'm looking at my board here to see if anything else is on there. Talked about work campers. Talked about 1,000 for 1,000. Oh, there's a huge one. We're currently working on the 2025 budget. So we had a draft that I delivered to the board. Again, trying to use previous year's data when we know the data is wrong. This process took a lot longer than it should have, because we would plug in those actuals, make adjustments for changes that we knew were coming, and then kind of compare that to year-to-date actuals, and then decide is there a huge difference, and if there is, why. If I can't explain the why, that means that there's something wrong with that data. So we go back in and try to figure out what went wrong in the previous year's financials that are throwing that number so far one way or the other. That draft has been delivered to the board. The board is, we are working together to walk through each line. There's a lot of changes coming. So with this new financial system, the financial account lines are all changing. So, where you may have had two separate accounts, now you've got one, and where you had one, now you may have two. So we're really trying to dig in and make sure that everybody feels comfortable with the direction we're going. I will tell you that the draft budget is budgeted to be in the black by a significant amount compared to the previous year's budget. So that's really exciting. And they have preliminarily approved the first 2 months. So if you ask yourself, well, how do you know what to spend if you don't have a budget? They have approved that first 2 months as they dig into the rest of the year. So, Lonnie, I love it. That's exactly what we're trying to do. So Lonnie said financial reports need to be simple based on department's budget. So in the past, we didn't have a department budget. We had a long list of account lines, and to get a department budget, you would have to go, okay, maintenance, salary, maintenance, supply, and you'd have to add up all these different numbers. And then if you didn't know that there was another cost, you wouldn't know. So what we did was we did a by-month, by-class budget. So each team is considered a class. So maintenance has its own budget, that it's all maintenance. And you'll be able to see a P&L that bounces off of that, actuals versus what we had budgeted. So I think it's gonna be a lot more paper. There's gonna be a lot more pages to that financial report, but it'll really allow an owner to look at top level organization, and then if they want to see a certain team, they can do that as well. So.
And we're tracking month by month.
Yeah, we're tracking month by month. Before it was an annual budget amortized throughout the entire year, which is not the true nature of our park. We have a really busy time and a lull in that income. So Kent Pratt asked what auditing procedures will be in place. Yeah, that's extremely important to us. So a couple different things. One, we've got a board that's going to be reviewing and a finance committee that's reviewing those financials. And second, we will be getting an annual audit, just to, again, checks and balances. So. How much money was taken up for the roof? So far.
I can read it out loud
okay.
if you want. So if you go to tlresort.com, right there at the very top of the page, it'll show you a thermometer that shows the fundraiser amount raised so far, and you can also donate there. So if you haven't done that yet, it's really easy to do. The grand total for today is $8,824.
So we'd love to see a little more movement in that.
Yeah.
We also haven't sent out the annual dues statement yet. I know some people are kind of waiting for that. So.
All right, Sheila wants to know what will happen if there are no applicants for rock and roll.
If we had no applicants for,
we could cook.
I'll be in there. I don't know that would be an issue. I mean, I think we've got a lot of people on park that would be willing to help out there. Yeah, I haven't spent a lot of time thinking, what if we can't get employees? I think that or work campers. I don't know that would be an issue, but if it did, if that was a legit concern as we move throughout this process and we don't have anybody that would like to work rock and roll, then we can figure that out.
Richard wants to know, are the weekend breakfasts going to continue in 2025?
Yes. I said there's big shoes to fill in the breakfast area, and we want to make sure that continues to be a tradition here at Treasure Lake.
Yeah, absolutely. How much will the overnight for camper this year? Probably just the nightly fees. I'm assuming when Robert says, how much will the overnight for camper this year, it's probably camping. So like the overnight fees, the nightly fees.
Yeah, and we did have a question about those nightly fees dropping. We are actually going to include in that newsletter the new rates. They're also available on our website, so feel free to pull those up. One of the questions that we got had to do with lowering dues.
Yeah.
And the question specifically was like, why are we lowering dues? We're asking for money and then we're lowering dues. Why is that? And the thought process from me and the board behind lowering those, not dues, nightly fees.
Yep.
The reason we lowered those nightly fees and are also asking for money for infrastructure repairs is that we're hoping that those nightly fees being lowered will increase occupancy. I mean, my goal is to get people and owners on the park enjoying what we do, our festivities and
Yep.
and just being part of the community. So that's why that decision was made.
Cindy would like to know, when will all the phases be open and be able to camp?
We have those dates.
March 1st.
March 1st.
March 1st, that's the date.
And there'll be some information in the newsletter
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
maybe a big kickoff event.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. If you plan on being here in March, let us know. We're excited. It's going to be a good year.
Hazel, a lot more than just cooking at the Rock and Roll. I get that, and I didn't mean to be flippant when I said that. Honestly, it is a big lift and a lot of work. I just trust that we've got owners, that would help us in those work camping positions. Owners or other people, that aren't owners coming in to work camp. I think that we're going to be able to pull that off. We do have some big shoes to fill. It's going to be a learning experience. It's going to be, some new staff, especially our R&R managers. So be patient with us, but I think we're going to get there.
Liz says, appreciate the transparency. This is much easier to follow without all the yelling over each other. My screen keeps moving. I believe we are moving in the right direction. Thank you.
Good.
Awesome. Jeannie says, breakfast was my passion for many years, praying that you find someone with the same passion and keep those homemade biscuits going.
Absolutely.
I love biscuits.
We're gonna try to meet your standard, okay?
Yep, we sure will.
Will there be Sunday services? Yes, we're looking at a rotating kind of pastor list. We had several people reach out, that wanted to, while they were here, preach. So we're looking at kind of a rotating schedule next year. More information to come on that.
Who is the new head of security?
Yeah, so Ty is our officer in charge. He's been in that role for several months. Great guy. Stop by and see him sometime. I would say that he was a Marine, but once a Marine, always a Marine. So.
We appreciate you guys hopping on here with us. It's nice to be able to interact when we're far away.
Yeah, I was going to actually. So the preliminary numbers, I was going to read those and then I got sidetracked. That happens a lot. Let's see. So income, total revenue for 1 month, we're sitting at $275,000 for 2024. Year to date, $3.6 million. Cost of sales, we're at $14,000 for the month. For the year, $248,000. And then expenses, total operating expenses, $228,000. And again, this is all for November, and these are preliminary numbers. And then total operating expense year to date is $3.2 million. So our total comprehensive activity rather, for 2024 for the month of November was $65,000, and then year to date it's 536,000.
Yeah.
Which last year, the same time frame, was negative 42,000 for total comprehensive activity. So that's a $579,000 swing in a very positive direction. So that's exciting.
Good. Very exciting. Linda says, when will the next meeting be?
It's a good question. So I did get some feedback about it being Fridays, and some people were saying, hey, we really like it on Saturdays. So the next drive-through will be on a Saturday. So next Saturday is when that will be taking place. At 10 a.m. And that'll be the one we actually drive around. All right. Well, I do appreciate everybody. Looks like we got up to 54 viewers. Are there any other questions? If not, I think we're going to jump off of here. And if you do have a question, as always, you can email me, gm@tlresort.com. And then my number in those newsletters and on the website, that rings my office phone and my cell phone at the same time. So please feel free to call that. If I don't answer, leave me a voice message and I will get back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Stay warm. And if you're already warm, I'm jealous. We'll see you later.
See you.